Hello again, beautiful beings. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As always, special welcome to all of my members. And I'm feeling really good today. I had a great sleep. I was processing a lot of stuff in my dreams, crazy dreams. And I'm wearing my quantum jacket. It's about 3 sizes too big for me, but as you can see, it has some really cool equations and things. Feel very astute. I feel very very intelligent in this jacket. Today, maybe part of my high vibes is the fact that I'm talking about one of my favorite topics ever, which is the quantum world. I have always said, since I've really stepped into my gifts and abilities about 10 years ago, that one of my missions in this lifetime is to make a huge impact within quantum physics. No, I've never studied quantum physics. No, I have no idea what the equations or math. Don't even ask me what 5 times 5 is, because I don't know it. However, for some odd reason, blame it on my gray side, that I just deeply understand the foundations of this reality. I deeply, deeply understand the foundations of both space and time, and I believe that I can translate huge equations that most people, myself included, would never understand into something that is tangible, applicable, and mind-blowing. So today I've got a lot of mind-blowing, not only am I going to share a lot of mind-blowing experiences with all of you today, but I'm also going to kind of lay out the foundations of this reality in a way that not only can you understand them, but I'm hoping by the end of this, you will be able to control them, okay? So, as always, this video is meant to be activating. I am here to activate your deepest vibration. And I know that some of you, my beautiful mother included, has a tough time understanding that both space and time is an illusion. But I want to let you all know that with this information today, you don't even have to think about it ever again. But just by sitting here and listening to this video and this crazy download of information, it's going to shift your vibration and allow you to not only see this reality in a new light, but once again, to be able to control this reality. And I remember maybe about a year or two ago, I had a video on glitches in the matrix and time, right? And I was talking all about how time is an illusion. And I remember I went home for Christmas and my mom asked me, she's like, you know, I really do love all your videos and I always watch them live, right? She's such a big fan of mine. And she's like, but I just don't understand this concept of, you know, everything behind you doesn't exist. And I remember we had a really incredibly beautiful, in-depth conversation that night for probably about 2 hours. And just the next day, there was this crazy glitch in the matrix that she kind of realized, right? She's like, what? You know, I never saw that was there. You know, is it you? Did you open my eyes to this thing? You know, did you change this thing? And I said, no, you have a new perception of life, right? And I know, Mom, you're watching, so I'm referencing the remote, but I'm not going to go into that story. Okay, 2 things. 1, my intention for all of you today, for this video, for this information. My intention for this video and information is to help you ascend and to navigate the 5D realm. Once again, to help you ascend and navigate the 5D realm, okay? 2, why is it important, right? I mean, everything's collapsing out there in this world, right? I mean, shit's just kind of hitting the fan. There's a lot of stuff going on out there. So why? Why this concept? Why this topic? Why here? Why now? Why is this important? And I'll tell you, when you start ascending to the 5D realm, you kind of feel like you are losing your mind. And that's okay. But I'm here to tell you, you're not crazy. And if anything, you are the one who's in control of your mind, your perception, and this reality and the way that you look at things, right? So I just want to ease this 5D ascension with all of you, and maybe let's just pivot for 1 hour. Let's just pivot our attention away from the 3D cluster of the world right now, and let's pivot our attention to 5D and what is possible in 5D. And as you begin to raise your vibrational frequency, this reality, it gets weird. It gets really weird. And I bet you anything, most of you have experienced at least one glitch in the matrix up until this point in time. That's why it's important. It's important to talk about this because our reality is no longer going to be the same, both physically and vibrationally. So let's talk about it. Who here knows about the Mandela Effect? Right? Who here is aware of the Mandela Effect? I'm not going to really define it or go into it too much, but most of what I'm going to be talking about today is directly correlated and associated with the Mandela Effect, right? Or these glitches in the matrix, these unexplainable things that happen that we just kind of have to ponder on, all right? So not only am I going to be inadvertently talking about the Mandela Effect, but I'm going to actually be teaching all of you how to control the Mandela Effect. So you're like, oh, Berenstain versus Berenstain Bears. That's weird, right? Febreze versus Febreze. Sex and the City versus Sex in the City. That's weird, you know? But what if you had the power and the ability to change the fundamental foundations of your reality? That's what I'm talking about today, and hang on to your seats because it's going to be a wild ride. This is such a big topic, such a big concept that it was very difficult for me to even write the notes of this because I'm like, what do I fit in? What do I leave out? You know, and I hope that most of it makes sense to you. Either way, your soul knows all of this information. Okay, cool. Little disclaimer, everything that I'm going to be talking about today, I have experienced firsthand, I have channeled firsthand, I have never read a book on quantum physics, although I have sat down with a lot of prominent quantum physics scientists, I don't know, and they have not only validated everything that I believe in and everything that I channel, but their minds have been pretty blown by the fact that I have all this information without ever understanding physics in a traditional way. Okay. All right, so before I begin, I don't have any announcements. I just want to say in advance, thank you all so much for the super chats. If this information is helpful or resonates with you or impacts you or uplifts you, super chats are always super appreciated. Same thing with donations. You guys are so generous. And if not, if you don't have the capacity to donate and give back, just subscribe and like this video and share this video because more people need to know this information. All right? Okay, awesome. So, number one, the first thing that I want to just start this video off with, super important, is that it is possible to bend and manipulate both space and time. And I'm going to repeat that because it's really important. Number one is it is possible to bend and manipulate both space and time. In order to move forward in this video, we all need to accept and realize that the reality around us is an illusion at a very fundamental facet, okay? That's number one. If you can't agree to the fact that space and time can be manipulated, you might want to back out now because it's only going to get weirder from here. All right. Number two, the second thing that we really need to just start off with is, yeah, and I've already said this, but I'll say it again. The more 5D you get, the weirder reality gets, right? And the more lucid both space and time get because you're raising your vibration away from the linear third dimension density. Okay, so we're going to start with space. We're just going to break it down between space and time. Now, when I talk about space, I want to validate for all of you, I'm not talking about the infinite array of vastness in the universe. I'm not talking about space up there in the universe, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. When I reference and talk about space, I'm talking about the physicality, the physical aspect of this reality. I'm talking about the particles of this reality. I'm talking about the atoms, the atomic structure of this reality. So when I reference space, that's what I'm talking about, okay? Okay, so once again, I'm not even going to reference any quantum physics theories, but you can actually back all of this up by quantum physics and science, even though honestly it's not quite there yet. Okay, so we need to realize that every physical thing in your room right now, take a look at the room that you're in, okay? Every physical thing in your room, as you observe it, as you look at it, it is in one solid state. As you observe me, I am here. Okay? Okay. When we are not in observation of the reality or the physical objects around us, technically they are in a wave state. Okay, so this mug, this really awesome, cool alien mug that someone sent me. Okay, so this mug, right, when I have it in front of me and when all of you are observing it, it is in one state. It is right here. When I put this mug out of my periphery, when I'm no longer observing that mug, technically that mug is in an infinite amount of places simultaneously. It is through our observation that the particles and the atoms around us become solid, right? This is important. This is really important. We really need to realize that nothing in our reality is solid and everything is moving and everything is changing all at the same time. And I will literally make all of this information very tangible, and I will lay out how this works in your reality and how you can use this for your own manifestations, right? Why this is important, okay? Okay, so this is really interesting. Okay, so I'm trying to think of giving examples of this. Okay, so let's talk about the past, the present, and the future. Okay, good, all right. Oh, this is really confusing. Okay, so if, say, for example, I were to move the mug in the past and I left it in the kitchen, and then now during this video, I don't have my glass of water, right, my mug anywhere. So therefore I made a choice in the past and it's now sitting in the kitchen. That is one of an infinite number of possibilities, okay? Okay. And then in the present moment, I make a choice to bring the mug over to this area right here, and now the mug is right here in this moment, in this area. So what quantum physics states is that our choices in the present moment can actually affect choices that we've made in the past. And I will give you a really good example, a better example than the mug example. Okay, so this is the example that I taught my mom when I was kind of teaching her about quantum leaping into different choices and different potential future outcomes based on choices that we're making. And once again, like, sorry if this is just too much. Hopefully this makes sense. Okay, so this is how I explained it to my mom. So on the table, there was a stack of napkins, and the stack of napkins was very clearly stacked appropriately, right? So like every napkin was exactly on top of each other. It was just very smooth. It was just a full, very OCD oriented stack of napkins, right? So I'm explaining to my mom and I said, look, you made the choice in the past to stack this stack of napkins, and now they are perfectly stacked on this table. So what if I go over to the napkins and I make the choice to move them? And I did, right? I made that choice. And so my mom, of course, she's a little bit OCD. She's like, what? Anyway, and so I moved the napkins, and now the napkins are splayed everywhere on the table. And then I said to her, I said, just close your eyes for a second. Just close your eyes. And I'll do the same. I'll close my eyes. And I said, it is possible to hop back into the reality a parallel reality where I never made the choice to move the stack of napkins. It's possible through non-observation to go back. It's not even going back in time. It's just hopping to another potential outcome in the present moment. Moving and manipulating and bending space and physical material objects has nothing to do with time. You can leave time out of the equation. So in one reality, I decided to move this microphone in front of me. In another reality, I never moved this microphone in front of me. It would still be out of view in the camera. Technically, if I close my eyes right now, if all of you close your eyes right now, this microphone is in a state of superposition. It is existing here right in front of me in the view of the camera and out of the view of the camera. Technically, through closing our eyes, both my mom and I, that stack of napkins was existing in superposition in a state where they are perfectly stacked and in a state where they are not stacked at all. We need to realize that if you made a decision in the past that does not harmonize and correlate with your state of being right now in the present moment, you can go back and change it. And I know it's pretty mind-blowing that in the present moment we can change the past, but science, quantum physics, has proved that they can change the state of a particle in the present moment, and they can change that state and outcome of the particle in the past. That's how powerful bending space is. And it has a lot of applications in our life. And I'll tell you a couple of examples later on. Okay. So basically, you can change what has already happened by observing it in a different state. Okay. Okay. So how do you do this, right? How do you change? How do you leap from one state of reality to another state of reality? How do you change the choices that you've made? And this is really important. If you have your notebooks, get them out. All right. So like I said, when we are in non-observation, when we have our eyes closed, everything in the room around us is existing in a wave state. And I see that visually with my third eye. And what I see is that everything's a particle. So the desk in front of me, the ring light in front of me, the microphone in front of me, they all separate into an atomic wave. It's no longer a solid, it's a wave state. Then when I open my eyes, everything aligns back to a solid state. How we can manipulate the world around us physically is if we actually become the wave. So then how do you become a wave state yourself? You stop observing the world around you with reaction. Like if I expected this microphone to be here because I placed it here, then guess what's going to happen? This microphone is going to be here because I'm expecting it to be here. That's my expectation on my outside reality from moment to moment. The second that you let go of any and all attachment to expectation in moment to moment, that's when life becomes weird. If you can't handle the weirdness of bending space and time, maybe you want to observe. Maybe you want to expect and attach. And that's okay, but you may be stuck in the linear, limited third dimension density. No one wants to be stuck here. I don't want to be stuck here. It's an exciting world out there to explore when you're not stuck in the linear limitations of 3D. Okay? So you become the wave state through non-observation. So the easiest way to be in wave state is when you close your eyes, right? And I want to give you a little something to practice. If you do this at least once a week, once again, your reality is going to get very lucid in a beautiful way, okay? So once a week, once a day, 10 times a day, who knows? I want you to close your eyes. You can do it right now. Close your eyes. And as you have your eyes closed, maybe there's the sound of my voice, or your baby crying, or the dog barking in the background, or the wind in the trees, or the birds in the sky, right? But regardless of all of those sounds, which could come from a variety of different places and ways and dimensions, when you have your eyes closed, nothing else exists. Nothing exists. Nothing. Because you are not observing anything. Simultaneously, when you have your eyes closed, everything exists in the entire universe, in this moment. When you are not observing your reality, all of your bank accounts are filled with money. All of your friends and family are happy and safe. You have all the shoes you could ever imagine, right? I mean, those are just silly material examples. But the more and more you practice closing your eyes and working with a state of everything and nothing simultaneously, the more and more you begin to have full control over every state that you are in from moment to moment. It's a really great place to start, is through non-observation. When I'm in a place of neutrality, which honestly, I'm in a place of neutrality a lot, sometimes more than I should be, because it's almost like a dissonance or a removal from reality when you're in a state of neutrality. And I remember when I first started practicing meditation and a state of neutrality with the world around me, I would literally walk downtown Toronto and I would see entire 80-floor skyscrapers in wave form. I don't know how else to say that, but a solid structure, 80 floors up, going like this, just waving. And I nudge my friend, I'm like, do you see that? And they're like, see what? No, they didn't see it. I had my eyes open. It was a really busy downtown area. There's all these people around. But through me, in a state of neutral non-observation, I was tapping in to the full flow of this physical reality. Okay, so this is an easier example to understand. Have you ever been working at your computer or watching a TV program, and then out of the periphery, because that's where you really get the non-observation, out of the periphery of your eye, you see the curtains start to move. And you look over, and the window's not open, and the curtains aren't moving, and you're like, that's kind of weird, you know? You go back to watching your program. Or a fan. Does anyone have a ceiling fan, right? And you're staring at something else, or you're focusing and observing something else, and all of a sudden, out of the periphery of your eye, you see the ceiling fan move, like spin. You look at it, and it's completely solid. It's not moving at all. You're like, oh, that's weird. That's really weird. Okay? You're tapping in to the quantum world. You're tapping into that. If anyone has had a psychedelic experience, you will look at an art, piece of art, and the whole thing will be moving like this. And you're like, wow, that's so weird. We can do that. We can stimulate that DMT, dimethyltryptamine, in our own pineal gland to watch the world around us in a state of movement, right? So it's really important that you're just kind of aware of that. Okay, cool. So let's just talk a little bit about the Mandela Effect. So the Mandela Effect is basically different things, kind of weird and odd things, changing their states. Like I said, the Berenstain Bears, right? The different spelling of the name. So this is either an individual observation of a change or a collective observation of a change. Even though most people think that the Mandela Effect only happens at a collective level, I'm here to remind you that the Mandela Effect is happening at an individual level in your life all the time. Most of the time, we don't even think about it, or we're not even aware of that change. Or most of the time, we think it's weird and we brush it off and we move on. Pay attention to the changing environment of your reality. So how do I explain this? How do you really truly explain the Mandela Effect? It is basically the warping of time and space. It's not the fact that humanity was, trying to change Berenstein to Berenstain Bears, right? The name. That's not really what happened. If anything, humanity as a collective was not observing a small detail like that. And all the way back when Mr. Berenstein, great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, was signing a birth certificate to say, this is my last name, he was indecisive. He was going back between the spellings. Should I spell it Berenstain with an A or Berenstein with an E? Let's go with an E. That small, insignificant decision back in the 1500s or whatever changed. It just changed. He didn't know that his great-great-great-great-great-grandson was going to write this popular series of children's books and that it was going to be a big Mandela effect. He had no idea, right? We need to realize that different states of things change when we're not paying attention to them, and then we wake up to the fact that it's changed, but we don't know how, why, or when, right? It's weird. So here's what I recommend. If you want to start being in full control over your reality and you want to start seeing the glitches in your reality, what I recommend is that you choose to do something every day that is unexpected. Once again, choose to do something every day that's unexpected. You know what I used to do all the time back in the day when I was really tapping into this? I would take an object and I would throw it. And I'm going to just show you. Okay. So, in my mind, I was just about to think, you know what? I'm going to take this stick of Palo Santo and I'm going to throw it across the room and I'm going to show people that I'm changing up my current state of reality by making a decision that I wouldn't have made prior. This was not in my contracts to make this decision. So screw my contracts, I'm going to override them and I'm going to create my own reality by making a decision that was unexpected. And then I think to myself, but was it expected because the Palo Santo stick was in front of me the whole time and I was subconsciously thinking about throwing it, therefore I created it in my contract, so should I throw the lighter instead? Or is that planned and expected? Therefore, you know what? I'm not even going to choose an object to throw to switch up my reality. I'm going to choose to not throw anything and make a choice that I wasn't ever supposed to make. Do you see how all three of those choices, to throw one or the other or none at all, are all simultaneously existing? So the choice to have the job that you're in, or no job at all, or an infinite number of other jobs, are simultaneously existing. Therefore, if you're like, you know what? I don't like my job. You know what? I want to change my job. I want to change my life. I want to recreate my reality, right? If that's what you're thinking, then it's time to quantum leap into a new job. And it doesn't mean that you're going to wake up and have a new job. And honestly, that's how weird it can get. Like really, if you were in 5D fully, you could wake up and go to work and all of a sudden you're going to the wrong office. You're going to a parallel dimension of an office that you had in an alternate reality. Do you see how weird it gets, right? It gets so weird. And that's possible. All of that's possible. But in fact, in a 5D, 3D kind of combination reality, if you're like, you know what, I'm changing my job. I should have taken that job offer 20 years ago. I didn't. I haven't been living my life. I've been living through obligation. I want a new job. All of a sudden that week you get a call from a buddy from 15 years ago saying, hey man, I know that you were really into tech way back when, and I know you're doing bus driving now, but I've got a tech job for you. Would you be interested in taking it? The second that you believe that anything is possible, the second that you believe that you can change and shift your physical reality, no matter what the decision is, to pick up the blue pen or the red pen, the second you know that you can hop is the second that you're able to hop, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. I know it's like a huge concept. Okay, cool. Yeah, so every choice you make has a probability. The probability to pick up the lighter and throw it, the probability to pick up the Palo Santo and throw it, and the probability to not throw any of them was probably 33% to equal 100%. It was equal probability. And you know why it was equal probability? Is because I didn't care. It really didn't impact my life in one way or another. So the fact that you really want something so badly, and yet the probability of getting something else means that you're kind of messing with your own timelines. So that's something to be aware of. Okay, so before I get into how is this all tangible, I want to talk about a really cool example with my wife. And she's weird, okay, but so am I, so we're kind of a perfect match. She tends to duplicate objects, right? And this is not something that this is not a gift that I have, right? But she does this very, very easily. So I'll give you an example that happened maybe about 6 to 8 months ago. So, she always drains the batteries of whatever it is that she has. It's really funny. It's just her energy. And she had this car fob, right? So initially, with her car, she had 2 car fobs. And then for the longest time, she lost 1 car fob. So then she only had 1 car fob left, all right? And so then finally, after like 2 years, I'm like, babe, just buy a new car fob. Just go onto the website, just get a new one. Like, it's really annoying just having one, right? So she's like, yeah, I gotta do that, right? So then a month goes by and she's like, okay, finally, I bought the car fob, right? I bought it. And I said, oh, okay, amazing. And then I go into the car, right? So now the car fob comes in and we've got 2 car fobs, the brand new one and the old one, all right? Then I go into the car and I'm looking for something. I forget what I was looking for. And sitting on, I'm not even kidding, sitting on top of the passenger seat of the car is this car fob. And I said, oh man, the car fob starts the car. So I'm like, man, she left her car out on the street with this car fob on the car seat. How did she even lock the door? And I'm looking at the car fob I have in my hand and I'm like, okay, this is the new one. So this must be the old one. And then I go back home and I open the drawer and then the other old one is sitting in the drawer. And I'm like, now I'm looking at 3 car fobs and I am rightfully confused. And I told her, I said, I just found a car fob on the seat of the car, the passenger seat. Like, what did you do? And she's like, nothing. What do you mean? I just bought one and now we have 2. And I said, no, now we have 3. So when I tapped into this energy of like, what happened? When we talked about buying a new car fob, we set it in motion in the universe that we actually attracted and brought the old car fob, the second original one, back. And what I'm thinking is that most likely that original car fob was probably thrown under the seat somewhere. Maybe not, I don't know. And then there was a choice that was made maybe 2 years ago that all of a sudden it's like you finally grab the car fob and you put it on the seat. And then I quantum leaped into that moment where 2 years ago the car fob was then put on the seat rather than left underneath the seat or what have you, right? Super weird. Reality gets very weird when you start tapping into this. Okay, so why? Why is this important? Why is it important to understand this information with space? Basically, knowing this information can give you the power to program your reality. To program your reality to have and experience any outcome you ever want. Once again, the decision that I made to use this cup was probably a 60% probability. The reason why is because I really like this cup. But there was another 20% probability that I would have a different mug or a different cup, another 20% here and there of a different outcome of that cup, right? And now it's currently, that choice in the past is currently creating my reality right now. All right, so let's move on to time. Time is weird. Time is really weird. And we can bend and manipulate time just as easily as we can bend and manipulate space. So, we can slow time down, we can speed time up, we can stop time altogether. And we can also have moments of deja vu. Anyone here has been able to slow time, speed time, stop time, or have deja vu moments? Does this sound familiar to you guys, right? Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've had experience of all of that. In 1 week, it felt like it was a month. In 1 week, it felt like it was a day, Nat and I potentially created a portal, a vortex, and it was so weird. It's like we were in an Airbnb. It was in Seattle, really high vibrational place, and we sat down to have this conversation, and there was a digital clock right beside the bed. And I look at the digital clock, and it said 7:58, right? 7:58. And I said, oh, it's almost 8, right? We sat down on the bed. We proceed to have this hour-long, really intense, in-depth, amazing quantum conversation. And it literally felt like nothing else in the world existed other than the two of us. And we tend to do this often, right? Even in restaurants, it's like, I will not hear another sound in the restaurant because we are so focused on each other. And then after about 45 minutes, at least an hour, I look back at the clock, just out of curiosity, and it changes right at that moment from 7:58 to 7:59. And I look over at her, I'm like, what? And she's like, what? And I'm like, we just stopped. Like, I asked her, I said, how long do you think that conversation was? And she's like, at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And I said, no, apparently that conversation was about 30 seconds. And she's like, what? And I told her about the clock, and she's like, that is so weird. Anyway, so it's weird, right? Okay, so deja vu. I'm just going to briefly explain what deja vu is because I've really tapped into this, and I believe that I have the answer for this. Deja vu is a moment in time when you see a future moment in time. I don't know. It's a moment in the present moment when you see a future moment. Now, typically, either you are in a deep state of meditation, or most likely you are in a deep state of sleep when you see this future moment in time. So you don't remember it. And usually those moments of deja vu, those future moments in time, are extremely insignificant. You're like, oh, there's the light shining on that lamp and it looks cool. It's like, whatever, right? So there's no reaction. There's no expectation. There's no attachment. There's no observation. It's just, it is what it is. It's there. It's the moment, right? Then, whether it be 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 months, 2 years, you walk through that moment in time. And all of a sudden, you're there. And you're like, what? This is deja vu. I've been here before. So next time you get a deja vu moment, the first thing I want you to ask yourself is, when did I originally see this moment in time? And I promise you that your soul will know. Your soul will know, oh, 2 weeks, it was 2 weeks ago, right? So I ask Nat this all the time. Every time she has a deja vu, I say, when did you see this moment? She's like, I don't know. I said, you know, when did you see it? And she's like, oh, 2 years ago. And you know, it's weird. It's this weird knowing, right? And I always ask, I'm like, did you know who I was? Because usually the deja vu is with me. She's like, no. I remember seeing that moment thinking, who is that chick? But also knowing that I was with her, right? Or what have you. So your soul knows. Push your soul in those moments of deja vu. You're simply just walking through a past moment of seeing the future in the present moment. Having an experience of deja vu means you are bending time itself. It means you are psychic. AF. All right. Okay, so I want to just dig something even deeper into you with time. So when you have a strong memory of the past, maybe you smell something, maybe you watch a video that reminds you of the past, okay? When you have a strong memory of the past, you are tapping into something that I call 5D memory. And basically what that means is you are tapping into your Akashic records of energy that are stored within your soul, so that you're actually tapping into and traveling back in time. Once again, having a memory of the past is technically, within quantum physics, time traveling. I'm just going to let that sink in for a second. When you have a memory of the past, you are traveling back in time to that moment. So if you have a very big trauma of the past that you want to release, go back to that memory. Go back in time. Tell your past self, maybe your inner child self, that it's going to be okay, that you're going to get through that you're going to be stronger because of that. If you change your perception of that moment of the past, you change how it affects you in the present moment. It's that powerful. So, when you think about the future, for example, you're tapping into an infinite amount of possibilities. So, for example, when I thought about this video, and I, say for example, thought about the cup that I was going to use that was going to hold my water, right? I didn't really have a perception of what cup it was going to be. But then all of a sudden my mind starts going to all of the cups that it could be. It could be this one or this one or this one or this one. When you have a strong feeling of, I feel like I'm going to be on stage in the future. I feel like I'm going to write a book in the future. I feel like I'm going to change the world in the future. You're tapping into that possibility. The only thing that is taking you away from stepping into that future moment and closing the gap of time, the only thing that is separating you from this moment to that moment is your belief. If you do not believe that it is possible for you to change the world, you're not going to allow yourself to step into that moment. It's you. It's only you. It's always been you that is holding you back from infinite possibilities and solidifying the reality that you want to exist in. Okay, so here's a really good example. Jumping back into past lifetimes. When you go on a trip to Europe, right, and you're walking down the cobble streets, and you're like, whoa, ooh, feel like I've been here before. I don't know why, right? Technically, yeah, I'm sure that you've been there in a past lifetime. Or I'll give you another good example, but it's kind of a little bit darker. Months and months ago, I was walking down the street of LA, and I passed this guy, and you know, he seemed like kind of like a normal guy, right? But he looked kind of negative, right? He was probably having a bad day. And in that moment, I got this flashback. Of course, it's easier for me because I can see everything visually. But in that moment, I got this flashback of being stabbed by him in the back. And so after he passed me, I literally had to turn around and watch him keep walking because I had such a strong feeling that once again, he was going to stab me in the back. Like literally, physically stab me in the back. So the thing is, in every moment, moment to moment, we are not only playing out, and I just got chills, our future present moment as whoever you are right now, but you're simultaneously overlapping and completing karmically all of your past moments as well. And even though you may not be as clear a visualizer as I am, you know, those moments are still there. Those energies are still there. Those emotions are still there, you know? So it's really important that you're aware of that. So I have a good example of this. I had a friend in university, and she was so cute. Her name was Sue. And she was like, she didn't really understand spirituality, but she was very next level spiritual. And especially when her and I were hanging out, I think in a lot of ways, my vibration propels people to that next vibrational level. So I remember the one day, it was so crazy. We were in the kitchen of my university residence, and we were cooking craft dinner, of course. And all of a sudden, she starts standing, and she goes like this, and she's like, whoa. And I'm like, what? Sue, what? What's wrong? She's like, whoa, whoa. And I'm like, what's going on? How, are you okay? Like, what's happening? She's like, I'm in water. And I'm like, what? You're in water? And she's like, yeah. And I'm surfing. Whoa. You know? And I'm like, what? And this happened often, like really often. So that was the first moment that it happened when she was we were just hanging out, and she would flip into these past lifetimes. It was so funny, but also not funny in the moment. And I remember the one time we were hanging out, and we were going somewhere, and we were at a bus stop, and all of a sudden she sits down and she crosses her legs and she puts her hands over her legs. And I said, and I knew, like, after that moment of the surfing, I knew when she flipped back, like I could see it in her. And I said, Sue, what's going on? Where are you? And she's like, I'm in a ballroom. And I said, oh, are you? And I said, well, what are you wearing? Right? And then I like kind of dug a little bit deeper. And she's like, I'm wearing this beautiful Victorian dress, you know, and she would just describe it to a T. So once again, not everyone's experiences are that intense, but just realizing that we're flipping into the past while we're in the present moment in every moment. Time is an illusion, all right? You have the ability to control it. Okay. The last thing I'm going to mention is about 5D. Okay, what is 5D, right? And how does all of this apply to 5D? So 5D is what I would define as quantum simultaneousness. All right. So basically what that means is that as we move from 3D, which is just linear, okay, it's like past, present, future. It's this jacket in this state on my body in this moment, right? 5D is it's this jacket or another jacket or this hairstyle or another hairstyle or this mug or another mug or this book or another book or anything, right? Like literally 5D means anything exists in any moment. And so everything's existing in that 5D state simultaneously. So you are not losing your mind. All right, you're just tapping into the infinite states that are possible. And typically every time I do a quantum video just as powerful as this one, I have people messaging me all week or, you know, for the next 2 weeks about the glitches in the matrix that they experience. So be aware of that, all right? So yeah, I'm gonna leave you off with a really trippy experience. And before I leave you off with a really trippy experience, I want to say that I have 4 steps to quantum leap. And I'm going to record a video right after this for my members, and that video is going to be released this Thursday. So if you are really interested in this topic and you really want to know more and you want to know the 4 steps in how to actually manipulate your reality and quantum leap consciously, then sign up and be a member. Even if it's just a member for a month, you know, why not? It's $9.99. So be aware of that, right? There's more resources available, but I'm going to be recording that video right after this one. Okay, so I'm going to leave you off with a really crazy experience. And I also want to say too, subscribe to the channel. Even if you're not a member, please subscribe. I know, like, literally, the stats are 50% of you watch my videos and you're not subscribed, and that blows my mind. So check it out, subscribe, as long as it resonates with you, obviously, but you wouldn't be here if it didn't. Okay, so this moment happened probably like 3 months ago, not too long ago. And basically, it was this moment where me and my wife were chilling in one part of the condo. I mean, this is a very small place. It's like 750 square feet. But I enjoy it. I like small spaces. Okay, so we were hanging out on one side of this condo. And all of a sudden, this ring light that is in front of me right now, it was in the corner. It wasn't plugged into anything. And it starts shaking. Like, it starts shaking violently, right? And so me and my wife, we were having a meeting, like a business meeting, and we're both looking in this direction. And we both look at this ring light, and I check the plug, it's not plugged in, the dog's sleeping on the couch, the window isn't open, so there's no wind. It was so weird. And my wife is like, oh, that's weird. Okay, cool, move on. And I'm like, no, that's weird. Let's check into that, right? Like, that's just too weird to just let go. And so, yeah, I tap into it in that moment, right, when it happened. And literally, I mean, I thought I had some mind-blowing experiences, but this was next level. So it turns out, this is so weird. I mean, you guys are going to think I'm really weird for this. Okay. Like, I thought it was maybe a paranormal experience. Like, I thought maybe it was a ghost or a spirit or like some alien, I don't know. Anyway, when I tapped into it, I literally saw myself 10 years in the future, standing in the corner of this condo, popping into this reality, thinking to myself, what am I going to do? I got to get their attention. What am I going to do? I got to show them that I'm here. And I literally start to grab and shake the ring light. And as I'm observing the fact that it was me from the future coming into 10 years past to show myself that it's possible to time travel, I started to have a memory of the future moment, not of me sitting there looking at me from the future in the corner, but of me in the future in the corner, standing there, freaking out, thinking, I did it, but what am I going to do? I was going to throw something across the room, but I decided to grab the nearest thing to me, which was the ring light, and shake it to get my own attention from the past. And I remember having the memory of seeing me and my wife in the corner over there having a meeting, thinking to myself, what can I do to get their attention? And when I tapped into why such an insignificant moment, if I can freaking time travel, why is it so insignificant? And my guide said it needed to be a moment when both of you were paying attention so that you had another person to witness the moment so that I didn't think that I was going crazy, which I did, and that's great, and she saw it all too. She didn't see me in the corner, and I'll tell you why. Anyway, so it had to be a moment where we were both paying attention, where I had a witness, and a more insignificant moment so that I had the time and the energy to tap into what was really going on. And then I said, and then what did I ask? I said, why weren't we able to see me? If I was time traveling, why couldn't we actually see me popping into that moment? We could see the effect of the ring light moving very clearly, but why couldn't we see me coming from the future? And it took me tapping in with my third eye to see that. And what my guide said is that I traveled through time in the fourth dimension density. Therefore, in the third dimension, we weren't able to perceive myself. And yet in the fourth dimension, I was still able to affect physical space, physical atomic things, and time as well, right? Anyway, so that just happened 3 months ago. And I got a huge download about space and time after that moment. And then they also said too, that moment needed to happen to kind of fuel my fire to say, all right, it's time to start really practicing time travel, right? I mean, I thought time travel was possible in that way. Teleportation was possible in that way, but I never thought that I could do it in this lifetime, let alone in 10 years from now, right? It was so wild. Anyway, so that's my really crazy, trippy experience for the day. But I mean, I have many of those, many days, maybe just not that intense. So I love you all guys so much. Thank you all, of course, as always, for being here. I love that all of you have been giving me good suggestions, and I love that I can be a very positive force in your life right now at this time, especially since the world's kind of falling apart. And let's keep it 5D, do what you do best. Don't get sucked into the news. Don't get sucked into polarity. If you have a strong feeling of fighting, go fight. And if you don't get involved, right? Listen to yourself. This is the time to really discern between you and the rest of the world and understand that you are here for a reason and you don't necessarily have to get involved right now, okay? So thank you all so much. I will see all of my members on Thursday for the step-by-step process in how to really tap in to your quantum leaping abilities, and what that really looks like and how you can really become Neo from the Matrix. I love you all so much. Be sure to subscribe and check me out on Instagram because I update and have funny memes apparently every day. Bye for now.